Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 8 of the card making countdown, where I'm showing you how to make 10 different types of greetings card with your Cricut machine over 10 days. Today's project are these lovely word ribbon cards. I think I also call them ribbon word cards throughout the video, so don't worry, they're completely interchangeable. I just had to call it something, right? These beautiful cards allow you to fully customize them for whoever it is that you're giving it to by adding their name and some text of your choice to the front of the design. You can either make your words go all the way to the edge of the card, like this one, or you can keep it all the same size throughout each of the ribbons, a bit more like this one. I've included 3 templates for you as part of today's project, which is this butterfly design. There's also a Christmas one and a birthday one. So we'll see how to do those first and add your custom text to the pre-made designs. And then for part 2, we'll go back into Design Space and I'll show you how you can create your own cards in this style completely from scratch. I'll show you a graduation design and it is going to look like this when it's all finished, but you can use those same techniques to make any card for any different occasion using whatever pictures you want. But first, let's get started with the pre-made designs, and it's over to Design Space. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the card making countdown at craftwithsarah.com/cards24. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/cards24 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all the files from the card making countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. Here are the 3 pre-made ribbon word templates that come with today's download. There are 3 different themes. You've got a Christmas one, a butterfly one, and a birthday one. I've created the templates without the lines that separate the words, and I'll show you how to add your own in. And the reason for that was I didn't know how many lines of words you might want. You might be doing something simple with just maybe happy birthday, or you might want to put quite a lot on there, in which case you'd need to break it up into more of the different ribbons. I'll show you how to do the butterfly one for this tutorial, so let's just delete the other 2 and then zoom in. Alright, so it's a little bit easier if you change the colour, because then you can see the outline of all of the different shapes on this, which will make it easier when we're adding the ribbons a bit later. So I'll go into shapes and choose a square. Untick the padlock box at the top, and now we can make it thinner, as thin or as thick as you want. Just remember, don't go too thin or it'll get hard for the Cricut to cut. And then spread it out, and then as this is the first one, I'm going to make it touch those 2 butterfly wings. They need to be a little bit longer, like that. Alright, so now we can have a think about what we want to put on here. I think I'll just go for a simple happy birthday and then a name. So go into text and type out your first word. Do it all in capital letters. It works best because then you know everything's going to be nice and aligned on the top and the bottom. And as this is cutting from cardstock, we want a nice thick font. Let's have a little look for something a bit prettier. So I'm trying to stay away from the swirly fonts for this one. Just something bold and big. Maybe that one. See how it looks. Oh, I quite like that one. It's simple. I'm going to go for that one. Okay, so this is DIN 1451 Engschrift. That's a very hard name to say, but hopefully you can see it in this video if you want to use the same one. And then we'll position this. I'm not worrying too much about getting it right in the middle now. I just want my basic shapes to be in place. And I've overlapped it slightly on that rectangle. Then we can duplicate the rectangle. Oops, don't resize it. I meant to drag it. It's a little bit hard to move them because they're thin. If you zoom in, then it should let you grab it. Put that one under so it's just touching the word again. And then we'll duplicate this one so we know everything will be the same size. Ooh, birthday. Birthday. Put that one in so it's just touching. Duplicate the line again. Ooh. Make it so it's just touching. Duplicate the word. And then add the name. And then one more rectangle for the bottom. So this method of doing it has all of the words and letters the same size on each of the different rows. I'll also show you a different way to do it in a moment. But first, let's just center all the text on here to make it get a little bit prettier. So click on one of the words, press the Shift key on your keyboard and choose the other words and also your main background image. And then go Align and then center horizontally. And that will put it all exactly in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to drag a box around everything to select it all and just make a copy over here so that I can show you a different method in a minute. But for this one, we now need to join everything together. So select it all and then under Combine, press Unite. We're going for Unite instead of Weld because Unite means that you can still move things about after you've joined it, whereas Weld is permanent. So I can click Unite and then have a look and make sure all of your letters are touching one of those rectangles. This one is, which is great. If there was anything that you wanted to change, you can click the little arrow next to where it says Unite and then move things about. Obviously, I wouldn't want to put it there, but I'm just doing it as an example. Then when you click away, it redoes the Unite in that new position. Let's just put that back up there. Okay, so let's have a little look at a slightly different way of doing it, which is where we can fill each line with different sized text. So it's still going to say the same thing, but this time I'm going to drag my text so that it kind of fills the whole line. Add in the rectangle and do the same for the next one. I'm not quite having it touch on the sides, I'm leaving a little gap. And then that one. And then the name. It's going to go into the butterflies a little bit, but we can fix that. First, I'll just move everything up a little bit more into those butterflies at the top. Can go there. And then, ooh, keep moving the size of these instead of just moving the position. Then we can put that one there. All right, so what we want to do now is cut off anything in the background that's touching these inside the letters. So I'll go into Shapes and choose another square and make it a completely different colour so it's easier to see. And then drag it so that it covers up any part of your background that appears over the lines. Make sure you don't go into the border at all. And then we can select that and the background and go Slice. And then delete the blue and the bit of the orange in the middle. And then when that's moved back, you can see that's now looking a little bit neater. Once again, we need to just position everything so it's nice and level. So select all the text and the orange and go Align, Center horizontally. And then select everything and Combine and Unite to join together. Now on this one, even though technically it is in the middle, I think the happy birthday and the Sandra's all right, but the happy and the birthday would look a little bit better shifted to the right because just how it looked like that Y was a lot further away than the H. It's just a trick of the eye. And then I've got a couple of tiny gaps in here which I would want to remove because the Cricut would struggle to cut them. So for example, there's one here just in that tiny wing and also one here. If you're definitely happy with your positioning, or you could make a copy, so let's duplicate it. Then with the duplicated one, you can go combine and merge layers to join them into one. Then you can use the contour tool to remove any teeny tiny gaps you don't want. But if you'd rather keep it so that everything is editable, what you can do instead is just grab some shapes. I'll do some circles. Position them over the holes you want to fill in, but make sure it doesn't go over the edge of any of the design. So there, and also the little one down here. I'll need to zoom in a bit for that. Down there. And then click and drag them in the layers panel so that they go inside that unite. And then that will all join to the same piece so it fills in those gaps. I've got a little tiny bit here that I must have missed when I was slicing off the background. So I'm just going to fix that. If I go all the way there. If you change it to a guide, it can be a little bit easier to see if you've got it in the right place. Okay, that looks good. So I'll just drag my background out of that unite. You can see if I change colour, it's separate now. And slice. That's a bit neater. Then drag that back into the unite. It's all gone blue now, but that's fine. We can change colour. You can change the whole unite in one go. I'll delete that one because we've got it over here. And that is your two different ways of adding the words to the existing designs. If you wanted to, on this one, to put the text more kind of centralised, you could do that. So let's select all those text bits and just move it down a bit more into the middle. It doesn't matter that it's not touching the butterflies because it's still nicely touching the edges, so it's still all going to cut as one piece. There we go. I think that looks a little bit neater. This would then all be ready to cut, and then you can mount it onto another 5x7" piece of card to fill the gaps, so something nice and different in colour. What I quite like to do is cut these from either white or black and then put something really bright behind them, either holographic card, glitter card, something metallic, or just a really deep bright colour, and then have that showing through the gaps so it really makes the front stand out. You can also create your base cards straight in Design Space if you want to, rather than using a pre-made card or manually making one by hand. To do that, go into Shapes and choose a square. And then as my card is 5x7, my width will be 10, which is double 5, and the height is 7. Let's make it a super bright pink, I think. Go into Shapes and choose a score line. Set it to the height of that card, 7 inches. Drag a box around both of them and go Align Center to put the score line in the middle. Then, to tell the Cricut where to do that, go down the bottom and press Attach. And then, let's move this to the front. This be stuck on top. Or if you didn't want your actual card to be pink all the way across, then what you could do instead is to just make another 5x7" rectangle. Then the card could maybe be white. It just means it'd be a bit easier to write your message on the inside. And then make this one the bright colour to stick on the front. And then this would be on top. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get both of these cut out, and then we'll see what they look like when they're stuck together. I've got all the pieces of my card cut out now, and I just wanted to show you how it looks with a few different colours underneath. And the simplest is kind of just using a white card with the black on top, or you could cut it from any other dark colour, and you see how bold that is. It really, really stands out. But also you can change up the effect by putting different colours underneath. For example, this yellow works really, really nicely. You can still see the text and all of those pictures really well, and it brightens up that card design. You can also use holographic card if you want something with a bit of sparkle. It looks a bit hard to read now on the camera, but actually in real life, as I'm looking at it, it does all still stand out really nicely. This would also look nice if I'd done this bit in white rather than black to show those details. You can use glitter paper too. So here's some silver, and that gives a lovely subtle shine effect to it, extra sparkly. And even patterned paper, although I would recommend sticking to quite a subtle pattern, such as these polka dots. See, there's just a few little dots on there. It adds a bit of visual interest without detracting from the rest of the design. Or on the other side of this, it's got a kind of vine flower pattern, which also looks really nice for this particular design. So I think I'm going to go for the polka dots out of all of those. And making the card is super easy. You just fold the base card in half, or you can use your pre-made cards if you prefer that. And throwing the needle away for the top of my glue. Then it's just literally glue the two pieces on top and you're done. You can't get much simpler than that. If you want to, you could use your foam squares for the top layer for a little bit of dimension. It'll be a bit tricky to get them in because some bits are quite thin, and you'd want to make sure you've got your foam in all of the ribbons along there so that it stands up nicely. I'm not that brave. I'm just going to glue mine. There's my patterned paper, and then for this one, it's not too narrow that it makes it difficult to glue, which is good. The foam squares would be a little trickier. And this fits right on top. It's the same size. Really easy. For this one, push down really gently because you don't want the glue to smush out the sides. Even though it does dry clear, I still don't want to be able to see it, so I'm being super gentle with that. And there it is, my word ribbon card, all finished. And I've also got the other example here where the words go all the way to the edge of the card. It definitely gives a bit more of an impact and fills up the space a little nicer. This time I've gone the opposite way round with white as my card, and I've put a pink glitter card in the background. So that was how to use my 3 pre-made templates for the word ribbon cards, but what about creating your own for any theme or occasion? Now let's create a new design for these word ribbon cards directly in Design Space. So I'll go ahead and delete one of these, and then for this one, I think I will just take the Unite off of that, undo Unite, delete that one, and I'll just keep that so I can use those bits again later if I want to. Okay, let's go all the way down here so we've got a nice open space to work with. Go into Shapes and choose a square. This will be the front of the card that we'll add all the pictures to. So for mine, it needs to be 5 by 7 inches, but of course you can do whatever size card you want. To add the border on the inside, go into Offset and drag it down so that it's a negative offset and change it to the pointed corners option. You want quite a thick border so that you've got lots to join it to and so that the Cricut can cut it nice and easily. Let's try minus 0.35. That looks like a good amount. So I'll press apply. Drag a box around both of those rectangles and press slice at the bottom of the layers panel. That cuts that offset out. So now you can delete those and then you've got your frame. And I like working in a light colour. I just think it's easier to see where everything's going to go. For this one, I'll do a graduation theme card. So let's have a little look at what images we could use. If you don't have the Cricut Access subscription, you could upload some SVGs instead. Let's search graduation. And then we want nice, simple images that's all one colour. So under layers in this filter section, choose single. And then we can have a little look at what we've got. We're looking for either pure silhouette images like this one, or images with thick lines like this one, but you also need to make sure that all of the elements of the image are touching. So for this one, we'd need to take out all of those little stars using the contour tool, because otherwise they would cut separately. They wouldn't be joined onto the front of our card. But I like the rest of the image with the scroll and the laurels and the hat, so I'll keep that one as a maybe. This one would be quite nice to use, apart from we'd need to thicken up that strand on the tassel. And let's have a little look, see what we've got. That's quite a nice silhouette. I like that one. And all the bits are touching and it's nice and thick, so that would be a good one to choose. It's easier at this point to just kind of select lots of different ones and then we can build up our card as we go. The 2024 is quite nice, and you could even have the images and then happy birthday, no, not happy birthday, congratulations on top of that. Okay, I'd quite like a nice scroll or diploma where everything is touching. That's what I'm just looking for now. That would be a good one. That's quite nice and simple. Maybe that or that as an alternative for the person. And I'm just going to search diploma. Here we go. All of those are kind of separate. That one's a bit too thin. That one would work nicely. All those bits are touching. Possibly that one, although it is a little thin. Or that one. Okay, that's a lot to choose from. So let's go with these. It might take a while to load if you've put loads of different images. Wow, some of those have come in huge. Just gonna, 24 inches. Just gonna click these and just resize them all to 5 inches wide so that I can actually see what I've got. Some of these are really massive. Okay, that's them. A little bit smaller. Right, so we can start building up the scene. Where's the person? I quite liked this one. We want the pictures to be overlapping into the yellow border. If you go over the edge, then you'll need to cut it off using the slice tool. So I'm going to try not to do that. But if I do, it's okay. I can show you how to fix it at the end. There, and then one of these images was like a pile of books, this one. That could go there. And a diploma. This is a little bit thin for cutting with cardstock. What you can do to thicken the edge is go into offset and just go 0.01, the smallest offset you can, and press apply. Then drag away the original and then use the offset layer, which will be a little bit thicker. there, and then we need something to sort of fill in the space in here. Perhaps just some stars or something like that. Or maybe that would be a better diploma to use. Could spread it out a bit. I like that one better. I think that'll work nicer when we've got the lines in. I want these to not be too far apart in the top line, because otherwise it sort of limits the amount of space you've got to add all your details. In fact, this is probably going out too far. Maybe if that one was over there and the diploma could go in at an angle here, that's probably better. And then along the top, we could just put in some different hats, all at different angles and sizes. Just making sure they're touching and they've got a nice overlap on them. All right, so now we can go and find our yellow and go arrange, bring to front. And this is what you'll actually see when the design's cut out. So actually I don't like those hats. You can't really tell that they're hats once it loses the point. So I'll delete those and find something different to go in there instead. Maybe some celebration bunting. That one's quite nice, but it goes down quite a long way. Or that one's nice with the stars. I quite like how that looks. I'm going to keep that one for now. Maybe up a little bit more. And then for my person, I'm going to move him down a little, just so I've got a little bit more room up here for my text. The same with the diploma. Not sure if that'll work at that angle. I think it does, actually. Yeah. Right, let's bring in our wording. That looks good. And obviously we need to change the text and make it so that nothing's going into the person. Might actually do the person big and have them going all the way up to that line. If we make him a different colour. That'll be nice. Okay, so we'll go... Oop, capitals. This will be easier to change if you send your frame to the back now. It just makes it easier to select things. So I'm going to go, hooray. You did it. You should still be able to read that, even with the silhouette there. And then let's add a name. Right, now that I'm basically happy with this, you might want to save it. I'm going to just select everything, make a copy, group that copy and hide it so that if I need to, I can go back and change things. Don't need that bunting. All right, so now we need to chop off any bits that are going outside of the frame. Go into shapes and choose a square. And we'll do this one at a time rather than welding everything together, because that way if we do need to change the images at the end, if it's not quite looking right when it's all joined into one piece, we can still do that. So I've just done it for my bunting. Select that and the bunting, press slice and delete all of those bits going around the edge. And then the diploma, if I move it just a few little bits to the right, it's not going to be poking out anymore. And then it's just the person. So I've got his arm going over the edge and also his feet at the bottom. There we go. So now I can join both of those rectangles together with weld to turn them into one piece. Then select that and my graduation person and slice and cut off those bits going around the edge. Okay, so now let's see what this looks like all joined together. Select everything and go combine, unite. And generally, I think that's looking good. We can see everything still looks like what it's supposed to look like. It does look a little bit weird that his head is sort of chopped off though. It looks like he's got something going through his head. So I think what we can do to make that look a little better is possibly reduce the width of this. Where's the one that just lets me do the width? Maybe I just zoom in a bit more. There we go. Maybe that would look better. Yeah, I kind of think that does look better. I could maybe even go a little bit further. Zoom in again. And no, it's not that one, that one. Just do it to there, maybe. It just makes the head then a little bit more obvious. There are quite a few little pieces in this one that need to be filled in. For example, there's a little gap there. There's a little piece here. And the rest of them are actually probably okay. So I'll do our trick that we learned earlier of taking some circles, placing them over the bits we want to fill in. There we go. And then drag those into the unite, and then they'll become part of the image. The others don't look too small, so I think we're all right with them. And there we go, that's our custom word ribbon graduation card. I'm going to go ahead and give that a save. Then I'll get this cut out and we'll see what it looks like. Here's my graduation card all cut out. I've gone for a blue for the front of the card and then a silver glitter. I'm not sure my camera quite picks it up, but it's really, really sparkly and pretty in real life, and it looks lovely behind that blue. So there we go, there's our custom word ribbon card made in Cricut Design Space to go with the pre-made templates that I've provided for you. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make word ribbon cards with your Cricut machine. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut and card making videos. I'll be back tomorrow for the next day of the card making countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!